Hey, what's up, everyone? It's me, your boy Ryan, aka Clutch Sports Talk in the house, man. Hey, I want to go over the NBA trade deadline that just recently passed a few days ago. Now, I wasn't expecting a lot of big deals and big trades to actually go through, but I will kind of break down a little bit, some of the significant moves that were made by some potential teams that are vying for a championship in the NBA this season. I want to start first and foremost with the Orlando Magic. Now, I know I just said I'm going to be talking about teams that are vying for a championship, but interesting enough, I will bring up the Magic because it seems to me they just unloaded their whole roster. I mean, literally out of their starting five, they traded away three of their, starting five players there, which, some people are saying, well, you know what, they're getting ready for a fire sale and they're looking to rebuild. And some people are like, well, why are they giving up all these great players and this talent? Well, here's the thing with Magic. They haven't really done much. Yes, they made the playoffs last year in the bubble. They did win one playoff game. They actually did. They won one playoff game, and then they actually ended up just getting swept the rest of the way. But giving up guys like Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and Fournier, to me, I think they're in the process now. They're looking towards the future, and they have to start to kind of rebuild again, even though they're kind of in a rebuild state right now. But the Orlando Magic are definitely a team that's struggling. They're obviously not in a very huge NBA market, and so they tend to struggle sometimes because they don't have those caliber players like they used to have. You remember back in the day when they had Anthony Hardaway, and Shaquille O'Neal playing. Those were some really talented Orlando Magic teams. And since then, they really haven't been able to find someone else other than Dwight Howard. I know Dwight Howard took them to the finals, several years ago. And look, Dwight Howard has been on several teams since then. But after Dwight Howard, they haven't had any luck of finding any ingrown or developing their own talent within their own organization. So for them, trading Gordon to the Nuggets, Vucevic to the Bulls, and Fournier to the Boston Celtics, I think they just looked at it from an overall standpoint and said, look, we're not winning really much with these guys. Let's see what we can get some collateral and some draft picks, and then move forward from there. So another team that, I want to talk about, and this team is actually vying for a championship, the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, I believe right now they're third in the West, just ahead of the Lakers. They actually made a trade to get Rajon Rondo. Now, some people are saying, oh, this is a great trade. The Clippers now are in a position now. They got a great point guard because for the longest, we've always been saying that the Clippers need an actual point guard. Well, now they have a legitimate point guard. But here's the problem, and I've been on record saying this with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard is not a leader. He's a great NBA talent, but he hasn't really had a great season this year, and neither has Paul George. I mean, you can look at the numbers sometimes, but just from an overall standpoint, yes, they're third in the West, but do we really feel that they can contend in the West as a legitimate champion? I don't know. Adding Rajon Rondo, we all know Rajon Rondo's past experiences. He's been on several teams, and where he goes, for the most part, with the exception of the Lakers last season, he kind of wears out his welcome really quickly. Now, if you're the Clippers and you're bringing him in to kind of bring some leadership and stability to their locker room, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to fit within the Clipper locker room, because we all know Kawhi's going to show up, practice, play, whatever, and he's out. Paul George is a little bit inconsistent for my liking, so I don't trust them too much. As far as the move overall, do I think it puts the Clippers in a position to win an NBA championship? No, I don't think so. I mean, let me know what you think in the comment section below, but I really don't think that the Clippers have what it takes. I get it, they're third in the West right now, but I really don't see them doing anything at the end of the day, to be honest with you. So the other team I want to talk about, the Boston Celtics. Yes, the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm talking about them because finally, for once, Danny Ainge makes a trade. He finally makes a trade. For years, he's been collecting this treasure trove of draft picks. And finally, now he comes out and makes a trade for Evan Fournier. So, like I said, Evan Fournier from the Orlando Magic. Nice player. Does he help the Boston Celtics really get over the hump? I highly doubt it. Now, I think the Boston Celtics are going to probably in the offseason, move off from Kemba Walker. And now you'll be stuck with Evan Fournier. I'm not sure of his contract details, but is he that much of a deal mover or ground shaker to make the Boston Celtics a viable trade piece, or a viable championship contender? I doubt it, especially not going up against the likes of the Brooklyn Nets and maybe even possibly the Philadelphia 76ers. So I'm bringing up the Celtics because finally Danny Ainge has decided to pull the trigger and make a trade. After year after year after year, he's had all these high potential draft picks. He never uses them. And then when he does use them, he uses them on Evan Fournier. So I don't know about that. Sticking in the East, I do want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they didn't make any real trades, but guess what? That's okay. Now, the trade deadline came and passed. Now, before they signed some, additions like Blake Griffin, excuse me, I had a brain fart there. Blake Griffin. So he's on their team. Not a great defensive player, but we all can agree that they needed help on the defensive side, and they didn't really address that. My thing is that I don't think they care. I think they're going to go out and score as many points as they can, and they're just going to outscore you to beat you. Now, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, they have not played a lot together, but I'm going to get to that here in just a second. But I still feel that they are the favorite to win the NBA championship right now. A few weeks ago, I thought maybe the Lakers would have a chance, but I'm going to talk about the Lakers here next. But them staying pat and not doing any in the trade market tells me that they feel comfortable with their team and they like their chances moving forward in the NBA as far as winning a championship is concerned. So yes, this is a trade deadline recap, but I'm bringing them up because they didn't do anything. And sometimes not making the trade is actually better than making the trade. And speaking of which, I am so glad because I'm a Laker fan through and through. The Lakers did not pull the trigger to go and get Kyle Lowry. Now, some people are like, well, why didn't we do that? Well, from what I read, the Toronto Raptors were asking a king's ransom, really. They wanted to get Dennis Schroeder, KCP, and THT, who's an up-and-coming young, I don't want to say he's a star, but he's a very talented player on the Lakers roster and can develop into somebody more of a supporting cast role later on in his career. Now, some people say, well, why don't you do that? Well, here's why. Kyle Lowry is 35 years old. If you bring him over, you're basically bringing an old rental car, or player, not a car, to play on your team to possibly win a championship. And not only would you, if you did trade for him, you're depleting your bench. I mean, obviously Dennis Schroeder's a starter. He's a very capable point guard in the NBA. KCP, sometimes he starts, sometimes he comes off the bench. And THT is an actual pivotal player for the Lakers off the bench. Now, I'm glad that they didn't make the trade because I think it would have been futile. Obviously, the Lakers are in trouble, right? I know I talked about this a few days ago on my show on Wednesday night. The Lakers are in trouble. We don't know if LeBron and AD can come back healthy enough and strong enough to take on the likes of the Brooklyn Nets. Do they get past the West? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But now we know in the last 2 out of 3 years, LeBron has had, I wouldn't say super serious injuries, but he's had some injuries that have affected him and in the result has affected the team. Now, he didn't get injured last year. Why? Because we had a 4-month break with the whole coronavirus pandemic. He came back refreshed, revigorated, and re-energized to go on into the bubble and win an NBA championship. Same thing with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is historically not a player that will play every game of the season. He just can't. Something about him, he always seems to break down. He probably can give you, and honestly, his minutes as well, too. Now, he does play 40 minutes plus sometimes, but I think towards the end of his career, he's going to have to start limiting his minutes and start playing 35 to 38 minutes a game. Same thing with LeBron. Now, the Lakers really, honestly, they didn't have enough draft capital to go out and make a big trade for a guy that I wanted, which was Bradley Beal, which, hey, they didn't have anybody. If they were to trade for a Bradley Beal, they would be essentially getting rid of all of their best players off their bench. And at this point in the game, they need all hands on deck at this point. Now, will they have enough to win an NBA championship? Can they defend their title? I don't know. I really don't know. And honestly, it looks pretty doubtful that they can. And trust me, I am a huge Laker fan, supported them all my life for the most part. But I have to be honest with you. I have to be objective and give you guys what I feel is the most honest answer. And I think, no, I don't think they can actually repeat just because it's going to be too much. Somebody would have to step up big time for the Lakers in order for them to win. So who's the winner and losers of some of these trades? Now, there was a lot of action and activity going on. Some teams I didn't mention just because I didn't feel like they were really relevant at this point. But let me know if I miss anybody in the comment section below and keep watching all my content. But hey, you can always watch my show. But before you watch my shows, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. It airs live on YouTube at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also hit me up on my social media platforms, which you guys will see right here on the screen. But until then, keep watching the NBA and enjoying all the action and activity that's going on. And also make sure you watch my show as well. This is Clutch Sports Talk with Ryan Flowers. Never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys later. Peace.